Hey, Cat Swan here with you. Today we're going to talk about the left melting down over diversity. I guess some hypocrisy and things that would be hilarious if it didn't concern human lives. But you know the deal. You want to hear it? Here you go.
Request we make. Pass a bill to create a pathway to citizenship. The border is secure.
Said that the border is closed. Is the border closed? Do you believe that the border is closed, or is it open?
It's open, not closed. The border is open.
She's steady asking me if my soul is safe. Yeah, it's in the deep freezer. It's gonna stay that way. I don't give a fuck if you're mad. You can die mad. I don't give a fuck.
Hey, cats, welcome in. So, like I said, today we're talking about some of the liberal meltdowns happening around the country. I'm sure a lot of you are well aware that some of these red state governors have been busing and flying some, illegals or immigrants, whatever you want to refer to them as, to different states. Mainly states liberal ran that self-proclaim sanctuary, sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, what have you. But it seems that when it comes home, that they really don't feel the same way. We've seen this over a period of years. It's gone from outright denial of there being a problem to, Orange Man bad, Crumbsicles is racist and kids in cages, even though the cages were built by the previous admin or what have you. Those same cages being reopened, and being used under different terms, terminology or what have you. It just keeps going, right? But, I don't know if you've seen the whole Martha Vineyards meltdown debacle, right? But we all know how that went. Check this out.
It's a big effort from a small island to make about 50 Venezuelan migrants feel at home, enough to kick a soccer ball in the street outside of a shelter at St. Andrew's Church. Through an interpreter, this man described his first interactions with the locals.
So he said he got here and everybody was like, hello, and who are you? No, who are you? And everybody was like, well.
A few hours later, the thing.
You guys are going on the bus. Get on the bus. All right, get on the bus. You guys are superheroes.
Thank you.
Ready?
Thank you.
Some funny shit, right? I mean, it's a warm welcome, right? And then it's like shortly thereafter, like, smell you later. You're superheroes, man. We love you, but don't be come around here. You know what I mean? And and it's hilarious that you have one of the most elite coastal areas. Like they say in the video, later it's an island, right? And basically, if you make under $1 million a year, don't even plan on coming in for a vacation, let alone trying to get somewhere to live. All right. And if anyone has the resources to put their money where their mouths is, you'd think it would be Martha's Vineyard, right? They voted for Biden over 80% in the last presidential cycle. They voted for open borders. They voted for these policies, but beforehand, like I said, you have flat out denial. I mean, over and over again, politicians, political pundits, your CNN and even Fox News talking heads at times claiming that there isn't a real issue, that it's migration surges or what have you, but it's been an actual constant flow. And now, just over the last 2 years, of course, organizations, groups, and whatnot that are against, like old bedriddens here, that now they're more than willing to point out the fact that over 2 million people have poured in, on a conservative estimate. Other people are saying upwards of 4 million just in 2 years. It's pretty insane numbers, and then it's always a clown show, right? You get old VP Camel Harris come out and do the old, the border's closed, and then pretty immediately gets a little taste of that, gets 50, 55 people dropped off basically right outside of her house. And, I'm sure she wasn't feeling the same by the end of that day, at least for herself as far as that's concerned, right? But again, not only politicians, the media, what have you. Here's a little montage of some clips of how it's been playing out these last few years. Right? Check this out.
Border secure.
I think that there is no question that we have to do what the president and I asked Congress to do. Is the first request we made: pass a bill to create a pathway to citizenship. The border is secure.
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
Concentration camps on our southern border.
Children are torn from their families and thrown into cages.
When we have children being housed in cages, crying for their mommies and daddies, we know we are better than this.
President Biden being accused and criticized for total hypocrisy. He has reopened the exact same child migrant detention center in Texas that he once himself bashed the Trump administration for operating.
This is not kids being kept in cages. This is kids. This is a facility that was opened.
7,300 unaccompanied migrant children were transferred into a network of shelters.
But back then, it was called a tent city where kids were kept in cages.
It will be nothing like what we saw in the Trump administration.
The number of children in custody higher than it was than its 2019 peak during the Trump administration.
I don't necessarily think that it's appropriate for journalists to be inside centers that are not permanent places for children.
And so you got to wonder, why won't they let us see? Because it's messy.
Do you believe that right now there's a crisis at the border?
I think that the answer is no.
Travel to the southern border, sir? Not at the moment.
Committee, Congressman, welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You've seen the visuals coming from our southern border. Both Democrats and Republicans have been putting out pictures and videos. How does the Biden administration get a handle on this crisis at the border?
Well, I think all of us have to take, all of us in Congress need to take a deep breath and realize that this has gone through multiple administrations. I think the Biden administration, given the stress they're under, is doing the right thing. The border's closed.
Governor Greg Abbott making a similar move, sending 2 buses with migrants to the vice president's residence in Washington, D.C. Abbott had been busing migrants to the nation's capital, but the buses had been dropping off migrants around D.C.'s Union Station. Volunteers were unprepared to receive the migrants at the VP's residence.
We are not a sanctuary state, and it's better to be able to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction. And yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures. Biden would fly people in the middle of the night, dump them all across this country. There was no warning on any of this. And all those people in D.C. and New York were beating their chests when Trump was president, saying they were so proud to be sanctuary jurisdictions, saying how bad it was to have a secure border. The minute even a small fraction of what those border towns deal with every day is brought to their front door, they all of a sudden go berserk, and they're so upset that this is happening. And it just shows you, their virtue signaling is a fraud. Okay.
As the Biden administration is allowing people to come across the southern border, many of whom who have COVID, most of whom are not really being checked for COVID. Those who do have COVID, some have been released into our cities. At the very same time, the Biden administration is preventing people to come across the northern border from Canada into the United States until maybe later on this month or sometime even later. So there is a double standard policy in that regard, but also there's a double standard as it concerns American citizens that the Biden administration wants to put even more draconian controls on.
Okay, now you definitely got to remember some of those clips because the lead in I got another round, another montage here coming at you that's going to be, it's pretty good. It plays off of this. It's basically the after effects of their own policies and their own bullshit, This is strictly like a moral grandstanding thing. When it's not around them, they moral grandstand. These are good people. They just want a better life for themselves and their family. We need to help. We got to tax you more to take care of these people. Yada yada. And then when it comes home, to roost, it's a whole different ballgame. Then they moral grandstand on. We're using this as a political ploy. And I'm not going to lie. This situation is a fucking political ploy, all right? But it's also a political ploy to open the eyes of some people that truly believe that, the piss is rain. And, it's a severe problem when you live in states that feel the economic pinch of, not only a surge of, people to feed, house, employ, yada, yada, but then also, a pretty age-old argument that a vast majority of migrants that come here are used to making a hell of a lot less than the average American, so they're willing to settle for less. And especially now that you're getting minimum wages in some states that are, $12, $13, $14, even $15, man, to them, minimum wage is raking it in. So in turn, you got a bunch of people willing to accept minimum wage. Why is anyone else going to pay above that? Right? Or they're going to pay slightly above. And this has gone on, for several presidents, many years. It's definitely not a new thing. We've just, we've only had one president that actually tried to take, some action against it. And, and then you get, jokes like Jean-Pierre, right, saying like it's ineffective use of tax dollars to build a wall, yet that wall has been stopped. And she likes to bring up the fact that the section of wall that was built has been breached 3,000 times since the Biden admins came around to the stewardship. And 3,000 versus, upwards of 4 million. Are you shitting me? There's absolutely no comparison. And she says, well, it's also taken $2.6 million in maintenance. Okay. It's taken maintenance because the construction literally stopped and you got portions of wall that's just blowing like at an end. It's just a loose end, and then also upkeep of all the shit that's laying around rotten. They have to maintain erosion areas, yada, yada. Okay. So the 2.6 million is going to be some type of expected maintenance to an extent. And if it was finished and actually, stable, sturdy, what have you, I'm sure that number would plummet. You know what I mean? And then not to mention the actual, the breaching, right? If the border, policies were actually being enforced and we had large, patrols and have stepped up, the game along with, the upward tick of migration, then, you got a better chance of keeping it up. And they also like to say, well, Mexico's going to spend money on, enforcement or what have you. Again, supposedly we spend a lot of money on enforcement, but it's not stopping anybody. And they even said, well, the apprehensions, right? Apprehensions are one thing. Even seizures, drug seizures, that's great. I'm surely not downing the ones that have happened, but it's a minuscule number. They can say, well, us basically seizing more drugs means that we're stopping more, but yet people are still overdosing at record numbers. Fentanyl busts in the interior of the country have not come to a slow. And, we surely can't say, well, it's, what? The police, everything has been stymied by this admin. Everything from Border Patrol to your local police officers and so on. Whether through action or rhetoric, right? It's a severe problem, okay? But anyway, I don't want to get it too long-winded. It's going to be a semi-long video as usual anyway, just because of the montage of clips. But, here's some after effects of the previous fucking set of clips. Hope you enjoy. You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, and smile you later.
Buses filled with migrants from our southern border have just arrived outside Vice President Kamala Harris's residence at the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C. Griff Jenkins is live on the scene to tell us more. Griff, is that Massachusetts Avenue that I'm looking at right there?
Yeah. Good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian. This bus just arrived moments ago. I talked to some of the folks. Apparently, this bus has come from Del Rio, Texas. That's what a gentleman on the bus told me. And these, pardon me, ¿de dónde eres?
De Venezuela.
¿Venezuela? ¿Habla inglés?
No.
¿Sí, no? ¿No? La presidenta Harris dice que frontera cerrado. La frontera es cerrado or abierto?
Abierto.
Abierto. So what she's saying, Steve, I asked her if Vice President Harris says that the border is closed. She says it's open. As we see these migrants coming across now, we're not sure how many there are.
Vice President Harris, any comment on the migrants that were dropped off at the Naval Observatory?
Harris said that the border is closed. Is the border closed? Do you believe that the border is closed, or is it open?
It's open, not closed. The border is open.
Do you believe that all the migrants believe that the border is open?
Yeah, everybody believes that the border is open. It's open because we enter, we come in, free, no problem.
But it's open for you to come illegally, right?
Illegally, yes, illegally, that's true.
And you came illegally?
Yeah, we came illegally, not legal.
When they were brought here, some thought they had just landed in New York or somewhere. They didn't know this was an island. And they left here a few minutes ago. They're moved to Cape Cod, to the Joint Base in Cape Cod, with new clothes, new cell phones, having talked to lawyers for the first time and saying that they were actually brought to paradise. Here's what one of them said.
Bajen del hotel, 50 personas y nos vamos. Nos montamos una camioneta, nos llevó al aeropuerto, un avión y nos trajo hasta acá.
¿Te duele?
Pues la verdad no mucho, porque en vez de hacerme una maldad lo que hicieron fue hacerme un favor en realidad y pues no me quejo.
This is history. All of your documentaries are about history.
Yeah.
But all of them also make you think about where we are now. And we woke up to the news this morning that Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida sent 2 plane loads of migrants to Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts, including kids and whatnot. And I'm not saying this is not a one-for-one. This is not a parallel here in any way. But it does address some of the same themes that are part of this documentary.
Well, it's the abstraction of human life. It's basically saying that you can use a human life that is as valuable as yours or mine or Lynn's, and to put it in a position of becoming a political pawn in somebody's authoritarian game. This is the coming straight out of the authoritarian playbook. This is what's so disturbing about DeSantis, is to use human beings, to weaponize human beings for a political purpose. It's like when somebody disagrees with him in Florida, like the Walt Disney Company, he punishes them. This is not the actions of a person participating in a democratic process in which there's an exchange of ideas. This is about punishing political enemies, putting on shows, political theater. And in this case, this is with the lives of human beings. And what's so ironic is these are Venezuelan refugees, which DeSantis should be supporting because they're trying to flee the corruption of a left-wing government and all of the pain there. And so the level of cynicism is beyond that. And what we find in all our films is that the themes that we engage in the past are present today. And so when you look at the story that we're telling of the U.S. and the Holocaust, you understand that the time to save a democracy is before it's lost. We promise you.
The children Governor Abbott abandoned in Martha's Vineyard, the children that Governor DeSantis abandoned as well, deserve better. They deserve better than being left on the streets of D.C.
The difficult challenges are we have, at some point in time, they have to move from here somewhere else, right? We don't have the services to take care of 50 immigrants And we certainly don't have housing. We're in a housing crisis as we are on this island. And so we can't house everyone here that lives here and works here. We don't have housing for 50 more people.
Come here, little Spanish kids. Come here, come on in. You want open borders.
I was going to put him,
Idiots.